welcome to the Boardman Nation, episode number 3. And it happens to be on Memorial Day weekend. Memorial Day weekend kicks off a lot of things. One of them happens to be the summer movies that's going to come out. And instead of wasting your hard-earned money to see the summer blockbusters, I would recommend watch episode number 3 because I would recommend some really cool documentary films that doesn't cost anything and will have more interesting at a very low price, which is free. Over the last 3 years, I have become a really big fan of documentary films. And the ones that make documentary films really good are the ones that are listing their resources throughout the film. That way, after you get done watching it, you go ahead and start conducting your own research to verify whether it's true or not. Throughout the research, you may come across new interesting things that want to make you do more research. Episode. The movies or documentaries I'm going to mention is Megiddo, The March to Armageddon, Shadow Government, and also Israel, Islam, and Armageddon. The first documentary film I want to discuss and recommend is Megiddo. The unique thing about the documentary of Megiddo is that it's composed by all these different biblical scholars who's done years of research through churches, seminaries, and other universities. And throughout, they list all their resources on where they got their information from. Now, the reason I highly recommend watching it is because in order to understand problems going on today, you need to have to go to the origins. And the best place to start the origins is at the Bible. Now, we live in a culture today that likes to watch things because it's simple, it's short. Well, Megiddo gives you that short dense of the Bible, and then it lists all its resources on where it's got its information from through scripture and others. Now, one of the fascinating pieces of the document in Megiddo talks about the Jesuit priests. The Jesuit priests was the start of the New World Order. And the whole purpose was to tear down the old and bring the new. And the Jesuit priests, you could trace a lot of things to them. You could trace, socialism, masonry, and others. And they had a strong influence in Europe through the French Revolution and the Russian Revolution. Now, they try to go to the United States, but their taking over the one world of the United States has taken a lot longer than they anticipated. Now, towards the end, it kind of shows how World War I and World War II is a stage towards World War III. Now, right now, the news media is talking about invasion in Libya, Egypt. Well, if you look at the map and see what we're surrounded, we're pretty much surrounding the Middle East. And what's pretty much in the Middle East? It's a conflict for the Israelis and the Muslims. We're hoping that somehow there's going to be a big war, big collusion between these two guys that's been predicted in the Bible. That's going to happen. And the way many countries is they're using the Arabs because they're oil. They're supporting them to attack Israel. And if you look out through history, Israel has been reprimanded more times than any other nation through UN by simply defending themselves. Now, you can see all that information in Megiddo. And that's something I highly recommend. And I will end up putting on my Facebook wall so people can watch it for free. The next documentary film I definitely recommend is called Shadow Government. Shadow Government is very interesting because Shadow Government ties in what I was talking about the first documentary film, The Jesuit Priests of One World Government. Now, people may kid around that there's no such thing as a shadow government. You've been watching too many conspiracy theory movies. Well, in scriptures, it talks about there's going to be a one world government. And the one world government does not operate like a front store. It operates within the scenes. And the people that are charged with the one world government are people with lots of money that have a lot of influence to the media, politics, and the military. And they use that to control the whole entire masses to get what they want to do. And in Shadow Government, it kind of shows on how the current government throughout our country and throughout the world is centralizing our money, information, and the way we communicate all into one system. And it shows on how they're going to keep it controlled to take away our freedom and our rights to keep us dependent upon them. And I think if you watch this film, this will help you be aware of what's going on, and this will be help you to prevent things that's going to happen down the road that's going to cause a lot of harm towards others. The next film I like to recommend is Israel, Islam, and Armageddon. Now, some of the people that did Megiddo also contribute to this documentary as well. And this is very interesting because you could tie in Megiddo with March Armageddon because they got a lot of similar documented information to where they unintentionally put it together, which I think it makes the documentaries very, very fascinating. Well, Israel is on Armageddon focuses on the conflict between Israel and Islam, and it talks about both of the nations' histories and what direction they're going to go. And they also talk about what influence the Gentile world has between those two nations. And it's very, very fascinating. And it's something I will highly recommend because if you watch that film, you'll have a better understanding of what's going on between out that world because Israel is everyone's burden according to Scripture, and it's not New York City and it's not Rome, even though the Catholic claims it's the holy city, which is not true because the Scripture says Jerusalem, Israel, is God's chosen people, and that's the holy city. And right now, all our eyes are watching to see what happens, and that's something I definitely recommend on watching because I think it'll better educate people about the situation, what's going on, and you could trace a lot of problems and a lot of solutions towards the Middle East. The old saying goes, follow the money. Those are three documentary films I will start out with. And in part two of episode 3, I'll recommend others, but take it one step at a time. Well, again, this is John Boardman, host of the Boardman Nation. I thank you for tuning in, and you have a great rest of the Memorial Day.